I'm Kathy Wilson. I'm with Solvay, responsible for talent acquisition. I took this position in April of 2013, and that's when this whole journey with LinkedIn as a corporate customer began. I'm excited to be here to tell you about what we've done to help build or begin to build our employees as ambassadors of our organization. Technically, I'm a one-person department, but fortunately I have many collaborators around the world that help me do what I do, several of whom are here today, and so they are a part of the story we're going to share. Marlene.
And I'm Marlene de Koning, and I've joined LinkedIn in 2012 as a solutions consultant. And as a solutions consultant, I'm responsible for helping our clients in solving their hiring challenges in order to meet their business goals. And one of the topics that has come more and more important and more of a challenge with our clients is turning your employees into brand ambassadors. And I started working with Solvay and Kathy a little over a year ago when we took over from our Paris team. And together with Ton and Nicola, who joined me today as well, we started this journey in turning their employees as brand ambassadors. And yeah, that's how we got involved in the Solvay strategy.
So let's just share a little bit about Solvay first so that you can know who we are as a company and a little bit about our context. So we are a top player in the chemical industry with 26,000 employees across 52 different countries. And those are the people we want to engage in our journey.
And a lot of companies of you might be of the same size or a bit smaller or a bit bigger, but you can imagine if you want to turn 26,000 people in your organization around, this is a tough challenge, and you have to ask yourself, where do we want it to begin?
Little more. So we are a B2B organization delivering to diverse markets. When we're trying to sell our message to candidates and attract them to our organization, we're having to consider people who are familiar with all these different markets or from one market or another, one country or another, and what that means, and different profiles.
Yeah, and some might of you didn't know that Solvay was doing all of these things. And you might ask yourself, does everybody in this room know what my organization does? Because if you're a B2B organization, you might make or be part of making cool products, but people aren't aware of what you're doing. And even if you are a consumer brand and everybody loves to buy your products or use your products, it doesn't mean that people would love to work for you because they don't know the story, what it's like to work at your company. So, and leveraging the story of those 26,000 people in the case of Solvay could really help you to turn around and let people see how it is to work at your company.
And one last picture just to show you how we are regionally, because as many of you who are global organizations, we know it's not just one message that talks to a person, but it's many messages, because each person wants to hear what's relevant to them based on where they're coming from, based on what they want to do, and based on the kind of role they want to play.
And I think you can see that the 26,000 people are spread over 4 regions and even more offices. And being a global company, this is really a challenge for a lot of clients of ours. And we've been talking about this yesterday as well. Do we develop a global EVP, and how do you translate this locally? Because every message that your employee has can be a different story. So Solvay has 26,000 unique stories to tell, but they might differ a bit how they tell it in Europe than they tell it in North America, or even within the different businesses. So how do you bring all these stories to life and get them out there in order to attract the talent that you're looking for?
So we'd like to take advantage right now of sharing with you about one of the stories our people love to share.
Solvay was the first partner of Solar Impulse, a solar aircraft able to fly day and night with a pilot on board and without consuming a single drop of fuel. A challenge launched 10 years ago by Bertrand Piccard and André Borschberg. Solvay has accompanied Solar Impulse throughout this formidable technological challenge, developing many innovative products that are found in more than 6,000 items of the solar aircraft, in its wings, its batteries, the cockpit, and even the pilot's suit. These innovations include Halar ECTFE, the ultrafine high-resistance film that protects the aircraft's 17,000 photovoltaic cells while transmitting 90% of the light. All this demonstrates how a pioneering spirit, innovation and clean technologies can change the world.
So this is one of the stories that our people absolutely love to share about. And so that certainly helps makes it easier to get them involved in telling our story. And the reality is, in each of your organizations, the people that are in your organization are there because they are passionate about what they are doing and what you're doing collectively. And so you can get them involved in that and talking about that with other people. So a little bit about how we started so that we could then start to get our people involved in telling the story. Just shortly before I took this position, our company acquired another company that was of equal size. So we had to bring these two organizations together and create the new Solvay, whatever that was going to be. And that, of course, presented a challenge for us because it meant we had to change the mindset of the people in our organization and get us aligned internally, but also we had to make sure then the message externally aligned the potential candidates with where we were going now post-merger. We also had multiple company pages, so we didn't have any one place that was sort of driving people anywhere, and we were not at that point in time in either organization making any effort to engage with people through social.
And I think merger and acquisitions, they happen all the time, and maybe your company has experienced one or you have taken over a company. What you then do is reform your brand, because your internal employees are all of a sudden coming from maybe another company or a little bit of a different culture. So how do you bring these two to life? And a lot of times we start with with solving the internal struggle and redefining your brand. But then the next step is also, how do your customers or your potential employees perceive you outside of your organization? And maybe if you've gone through a different type of business or moving into a new industry, you don't want to be perceived as the company you were. You want to be of the company you aspire to be or that you are at this moment. And there are multiple things involved internally and externally. And how did you handle all of these things, Kathy? What did you do?
Well, I mean, we really had 3 initiatives going on at the same time that built off of one another. One was the initiative to build the messaging we would use internally to align this new organization of people together collectively. Then, of course, there was the messaging that was being prepared to talk about our organization to our customers and potential customers. And then at the same time, working on the messaging we would use with potential candidates to tell what we think is an exciting story. So what we wanted to do, so we made a decision as an organization to leverage LinkedIn as our global channel to start to push that message, to start to create greater awareness and start to engage with people. It was, of course, complemented by a lot of activities done at the local level, but this was our global channel we chose. We wanted to drive targeted members to our career page, right? We wanted the right people to know about the exciting opportunities we had to offer. And we wanted to get our employees involved as ambassadors. Those were sort of the 3 places we wanted to go when we started that journey. And this was a nice place where the partnership with LinkedIn and the LinkedIn team came in, because we had some ideas about what we wanted to do, but we didn't necessarily know how to best leverage some of what was available to us to do that. And the LinkedIn team then partnered with us to help us put pieces in place, and then as things started to evolve, how to make what we were doing work even better by modifying something or adding something else.
Yeah, and a lot of our clients that start a journey with LinkedIn, they want to increase their followers, but they are not necessarily always know why. But why are followers important? It's because they are basically people on LinkedIn that have raised their hand and said, I'm interested potentially in you or your organization and to work for you in the future. So that's one of the things that you want. You want to attract audiences to your, and to make them followers. But then you want the right followers. So you don't want people who like your brand because they're a consumer or maybe buy your products. You want people that you actually are interested in because they're your potential talent pool to tap into. So make sure you attract the right people. And that's why we talked about Solvay, which regions, which audience do you want to attract? But then once they're following you, what do you do? And that's why I love when we started this journey in creating these ambassadors is which stories do we want to get out there, and how do we get those 26,000 stories out there in order to engage the audience, to attract the right persons that want to work in those teams. And that's why I think these three things combined are the best way to go, and not to go for one or the other.
So how did we get started? It really was step by step. There wasn't this long, grand plan. We picked a place to start. We started with that one item, which for us was the new employer brand, and starting to get that out through LinkedIn and starting to do regular news updates so that we could create some engagement and interest. And then as we saw that start to work, we learned some lessons from it. We were able to grow from there. We also merged or took care of all of our pages so that we got down to one main company page so that we were also driving people to the same place. And with that, we brought all of our members together to that page so that as they're interacting with people, they're, again, driving them to where we're publishing or posting our content and our opportunities.
And merging your company doesn't only have an influence inside your organization, but it has an influence outside of your organization as well. And a lot of times what you see happening is that companies arrange it, they change their website, and they make it all really neat. But then you are existing on social media, even if you choose to be or not to be, but you are on there. So how do you make sure that you have the right presence online? And that doesn't only count for LinkedIn, but all over the web. And then how, if you talk about LinkedIn, if you're merging and you have like Solvay bringing two equally sized companies together, how do you make sure that your employees are attached to the right page? Because if they're going to communicate those stories, you want them, if they attract people, to redirect to the right company, the company that you're aspiring to be. So those things we talked about, and how can LinkedIn make this happen for Solvay in order to keep those people within the right company and attached to the right stories.
Yeah. So a little bit more then about how we engage the people in our organization to be a part of this journey. So first, for our branding campaign, for our branding message, we started with our people. So our branding message is our people talking about their experiences, and that jump-started that process. We've also took a major step with our recruiters. These are the individuals who on a day in and day out basis are out there marketing and selling our organization and our opportunities to people. So we gave them training to help with their own personal, professional branding, and then how they could then take that and help also brand for Solvay. We also saw our recruiters as the individuals that could really start to lead and set an example for others in the organization about what it looks like to become socially present so that others would have some idea or something to follow. We engaged our leadership. I was fortunate enough earlier this year to share our LinkedIn story with our executive council. So the leaders of each of our business units and functions, as well as with their HR directors. And as a part of that, we invited them to become a part of the journey. And we held profile events for those two audiences. And it was really fun because with the business executives, the day we did their event, there were waiting lines. There were waiting lines at the photo booth. There were waiting lines to sit with us and look at profiles and create profiles. But it really started to create a buzz. People started talking to one another. People started, some of it was a competitive. I've got an all-star profile. Do you have one yet? But that fed off of it. But what was great, too, is I started to run into people in the hall, at a meeting, at the canteen on campus, and an executive would stop and say to me, hey, I've started to add to my network, and I've connected with someone, a colleague from 5 years ago that we've lost touch, and now we're going to have lunch 2 weeks from now. It started to create momentum. And now I'm getting emails and meeting invites. Can you come help me with my profile? How can I get more involved? So these are things, it's starting to, by inviting them in, they were excited to come in and start to join the journey. Also through internal communications. So right around this same time, we've also started sharing through our internal channels with everyone our story about what we're trying to do to make others aware of us and how we're using LinkedIn as a way to do that. and inviting anyone who's interested in the organization to join us, and asking just simple questions, on the side. Have you updated, is your profile up to date? Have you checked out our new company page? Do you know what news we're sharing? Did you know you could share it? Just little things like that make people think about it. And then something else that we've started very recently is when this idea that when we have a corporate event of some type where we're bringing people together to do video, have a video camera and have a chance to offer them, if they want to join us on this journey, to do video testimonials that we will soon start sharing via LinkedIn and our career site.
And every member of your organization is an employee. And sometimes as an organization or as HR, you might forget that your leaders are an employee as well. So you want them to be involved, because those are the ones that are not only inside of the organization are viewed as leaders, but also people outside of your organization a lot of times view our leaders as leaders. So they're leaders in the industry, and you can leverage that in order to build your employer brand based on their brands as well. So I think what we did with Kathy also is enabling during those workshops leaders how to leverage, in this case, LinkedIn, in order to build their brand for their company brand. And that's to attract the right people, but also to show who Solvay is as a company. We just showed you also the Solar Impulse video, and this is the thing that the leadership, but also other employees are very proud of. So they all have a video now on their profile, and they didn't know how to execute that. But we taught them how they can be better brand ambassadors for the company, because these are the people that are viewed a lot when people are viewing people from your organization. So I think that's very important to leverage your C-level as part of your employer brand. And it's quite easy to start with already, just to get them involved and to ask them. And once you've asked them, they might come back to you as well. And then into the results, because you start with something and then you want to see something back as well. So the journey has started, and we're not finalized there yet. We're working together still on making it better, on making more efforts, and on getting more results. But we wanted to share today with you what we have achieved in working a year on this project. And if you look at this, what you see here are followers. And as I told earlier in this presentation, followers are the people who raised their hand and said, I'm potentially interested to work for your company. So it's important to see that this has increased almost 6 times in the past 2 years to 90,000 people. And it not only has grown, but it's grown with the audiences that Solvay is looking for to hire now and in the future. And then the other thing, we're talking here about employees as ambassadors. It almost went up 3 times in the past 2 years, the number of employees that are part of Solvay and the company Solvay on LinkedIn. And then it's important to have your employees on LinkedIn, if we're talking about LinkedIn, but what do they do next? How are they representing your company? That's the next step. Because only having them there is not, you're not reaching all of your goals. So what Solvay employees did, you see 41% of their employees updated their profile in the past 2 years. And they didn't only update it with a new photo, but they actually uploaded those videos of Solar Impulse. They showed other videos of their CEO talking about their results. They are showing things that they have done. And they're not only sharing information on LinkedIn of what they like, because that's the 4%. And 4% maybe seems like something you're not showing as a result, because it's quite a low percentage if you see it. But actually 4% of Solvay employees is not only sharing information they find on LinkedIn about industry-related news or news that's relevant for them, but 4% is sharing Solvay's jobs, Solvay's content. If communications is posting something as a company update on LinkedIn, 4% of the company is now sharing that outside of their networks, and that has a big reach. And then you think, well, 4%, we might have that. Well, actually in LinkedIn, we've done research, and we have found out that on average of all of our clients, so probably a lot of you as well, only 2% of their employees are sharing the content. And within a few months, we've made this up to 4%. So, and we're still growing. So even if we continue with this journey and not only engaging the leadership, but starting to engage all of these offices and the regions, I believe that we can bring this number more up, and everybody starts to share more of these stories. And I think with doing this as a LinkedIn employee and talking to Kathy about these results, I'm always very happy to share these kind of numbers, because this makes me really enthusiastic and really worth the effort of working in this kind of way. But I know for clients it sometimes feels a little bit different. So how happy are you with the results we've achieved?
Well, I'm very happy, but let's be real. We're in talent acquisition. So the real measure is, are we ultimately hiring the people we want and need at our organization? What these results have led to over the last 2 years is a 700% increase in how many people we're directly sourcing through LinkedIn compared to 2 years ago. So for me, that's successful. We didn't have a particular target in mind. We just knew we wanted to get better and get better results and connect more directly with people to come to us. And the number of hires has gone up by 7 times. And so, I think, we're not done. It's not perfect, but it's in a good direction.
Yeah, we're both happy to continue the journey.
So what's next then? So we want to continue on this journey. I still believe that we've made a good decision to leverage this global channel to engage with people, to help our recruiters connect more directly with individuals, to help individuals connect with us. But we want to get more of our people involved as ambassadors. So next steps are basically to host events in person and virtually around the world to invite more people in, and to invite them in by helping them first learn a little bit about what we're doing and why, give them a little bit of training on how they can build their own personal brand and something they can feel good about, because people are looking at our profiles, and then invite them and give them ideas of how they can share their own story, their own experiences with Solvay with other people through this channel or other social channels. And I don't have it on the slide, but I have a personal goal as well, and this was actually an inspiration I got from last year's Talent Connect after listening to one of the stories. So my personal goal, as successful as our event was with our executive council, our CEO today is still not quite ready to get active on LinkedIn. So that's my personal goal as well, to bring him in as an ambassador as well through LinkedIn, because he's great at telling our story. And I know they say people want to hear from the regular people, and I agree with that, but I'd like to see our CEO get involved in it as well.
That's a big goal, but we can work on it. But even with this, we've shown some results, and I think there are 3 things that I want to give you today that we've learned from this journey and that we will continue. The first thing for me is start by starting. I mean, I showed you the 26,000 employees of Solvay, and you might have as many employees or a little less, but you don't know where to start. But pick an office, pick a region, pick a function, or seniority, and just start there and make that office in being great and being an ambassador, and they will invite people they know in other offices, and they will start helping you. But if you never know where to start and you never start, you won't be able in achieving the next step. So just take it step by step. And then the other thing is organize trainings, because we work with social every day, but our employees a lot of times don't. So what feels like obvious for us might not be for them. So help them and encourage them and make them good in being that ambassador. Because if you don't provide the right help, they might be scared in doing so. But if you provide the right help, they will become enthusiastic and start sharing more. So I think that's really good. And then the other thing is, once you have an ambassador, keep them. Because sometimes we invite people because we need them now, but then, it kind of wears off. But you want to keep your ambassadors. So you can do that by keeping them up to date. Social's changing so fast. So give them a training once in a while with the news and the updates to make them feel comfortable and still feel comfortable in order to know to share what's going on with your organization. But also thank them. Thank them for being that ambassador. Organize a lunch or a cocktail or something and invite them to thank them that they want to be an ambassador and want to share how proud they are to work for your company. And the last thing is, ask them about their passion. Your employees wake up every day and work for your organization, and they go to work because they have a passion to work for your organization. And that might not be because of what they're doing on the project that you want them to write about. It might not be on something they're working on. They might be so enthusiastic about Solvay because of Solar Impulse, even though they're not directly working on it, but they want to write about something about that and how that inspires them. So if you ask them about their passion, they will write work-related stories and your company-related stories, but they write them because they want to share what they're passionate about. And you get totally different stories to share than when you ask them to write about their 9 to 5. So those were my 3 key takeaways for today.
Yeah, and I have 2 I want to share. One of them is just to reiterate one of the things Marlena said. I came to my first Talent Connect 2 years ago, and I walked out, and at first I was overwhelmed with all the great ideas and inspirations I heard, and it's like, oh, where do I start? It's so much. And I picked one thing, and we started to work on that. And so whatever that thing is for you that you've heard between yesterday and today that fits for where you are in your journey and where you want to go next, start working on it because it develops momentum. And that leads to my second point. Your organization is full of people who are your collaborators and are proud of your organization. Invite them to join you on the journey. Many people just need to know that you want them to be a part of it. So invite them to join you, and I think you'll also see a lot of momentum growing from there because people are excited to talk about what they do, where they work, why it matters, and why someone else might like it there. Thank you very much. We're very happy to take questions if there are any.